Coming up in Taiwan, TransAsia Flight GE222 from Kaohsiung to Penghu crashed upon landing in turbulent weather. We find out more about the solar term Dashu and how it affects farming and our body. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee. Thank you for joining us. On July 23rd, TransAsia Airways Flight GE222 crashed while attempting to land in stormy weather in Taiwan's offshore island of Penghu. 48 people passed away in the accident, while 10 injured passengers were taken to hospitals for treatment. At the time of air, 5 of the survivors were moved from Penghu hospitals to hospitals in mainland Taiwan for treatment. In the aftermath of the incident, the Civil Aeronautic Administration and TransAsia Airways established a disaster response center to provide further assistance.
On the evening of July 23rd, TransAsia Airways Flight GE222, flying from Kaohsiung City to Penghu Island's Magong, plunged into Xixi village, destroying houses and carts on the ground. The plane was carrying 58 passengers, including 4 crew and 2 French citizens. Following the accidents, the Defense Department dispatched troops to the scene to assist.
I'm here to offer my sincere apologies for this unfortunate incident.
On the evening of the incident, the manager of TransAsia Airways filed an apology for the tragedy when speaking to the media. Flight GE222 was scheduled to take off from Kaohsiung City at 4 p.m. for Magong, but was delayed until 5:43 p.m. At 7:06 p.m., the plane requested to make a go-around but failed. Meanwhile, at the crash site in Penghu, despite the heavy rainfall, rescue teams raced against time to save any possible survivors and retrieve the bodies of those buried underneath the wreckage. Due to the lack of light near the crash site, rescue work was made even harder. While trying their best to find missing passengers, rescue personnel conducted each step with extra attentiveness.
In the wake of the plane crash, throughout the night of July 23rd, Tzu Chi volunteers were mobilized to offer emotional support to the family members of the passengers aboard. For the few that did survive the incident, Tzu Chi volunteers have also arrived at hospitals to offer words of comfort. As 80% of the passengers on the flight were local Penghu residents, family members gathered at the local mortuary, waiting to identify their loved ones. Volunteers from both Kaohsiung and Penghu stood at the ready to offer comfort whenever and wherever needed. Upon hearing of the plane crash, family members rushed to the airport. Tzu Chi volunteers are comforting this distraught mother who said her daughter was returning to Penghu from attending her grandmother's funeral in Taiwan. Fortunately, her daughter survived the crash. However, many others were not so lucky. Hearing of the tragic news, Tzu Chi volunteers quickly mobilized at the Kaohsiung International Airport. Throughout the night, volunteers stayed by these family members' side, hoping to ease their suffering. Come 1 a.m. on July 24th, the morgue in Penghu posted photographs of the deceased for the families to identify. Recognizing their loved ones, many broke down. Offering a shoulder to cry on, Tzu Chi volunteers did their best to comfort grieving family members. As 80% of the passengers aboard TransAsia Flight GE222 were local Penghu residents, after the bodies were identified, they were moved to the morgue's freezers. And for the unidentified bodies, a DNA analysis will be conducted. For now, Tzu Chi volunteers will continue to be by the bereaved family members' side. In disaster-related news, on July 22nd, Typhoon Matmo swept through Taiwan, damaging several houses in its wake. In Jiayi, a scooter rider was hit by a tree and left in critical conditions, while in Hsinchu and Yilan, the storm left tens of thousands of households without electricity. Despite the various incidents across the island, no deaths were reported.
In Yilan, Taiwan, Typhoon Matmo swept through the region with intense winds and rain.
Though the storm is gone, winds and rains here in Yilan continues. As you can see, these spikes were blown down by the gust.
Roaring winds downed trees and billboards. Typhoon Matmo caused heavy rains that inundated Lanyang River. Roads in Datong Township were left filled with debris and downed trees. Road safety team has been mobilized to begin clearing away the debris.
We will first remove the debris that affects road safety before cleaning the roads.
The storm also damaged power poles and power lines, disrupting power for thousands of families. Thai Power electricians have been doing their best to get power back online for the affected households.
At midnight yesterday, over 25,000 households had no power. We hope to get the power back online before tonight.
Fortunately, Typhoon Matmo didn't cause any major disasters in Yilan. In the afternoon, soldiers were mobilized to help local residents clean up.
记者现在仍位在新竹。
Here we're in Hsinchu's Neiwan. It's not yet 7 a.m. Everything looks calm and peaceful, but here you can see the billboards that were destroyed by the storm.
As the DaAi news team heads towards Hsinchu's Zhudong town, one can see the ruins left by the storm. Local residents were seen getting up early to check on the damage to their homes and property.
想说没上班出来看。
I'm checking if there is any damage here because I parked my car over here. I come to check if the car was damaged by winds or debris.
In the mountainous regions of Hsinchu County, Typhoon Matmo flattened trees and iron sheet fences. Some shop owners stayed up the night as they worry the typhoon might damage their shops.
没有什么在睡啊。
No, I couldn't sleep last night. I didn't go to bed until the winds became less intense. Thankfully, this typhoon didn't bring too much rain or this area would have been flooded again.
Not wanting to see people's life and property at risk, local cleaning team mobilized to clean up the streets before sunrise.
清除那个
We will remove debris from the roads. That tree branch needs to be trimmed too, or it will come down when the next typhoon hits.
The storm left over 1,900 households in Jianshi Township and Wufeng Township without power. Thai Power promised to get power back online as soon as possible for the residents. Meanwhile, in Jiayi Zhongpu Township, at 8 a.m. of July 23rd, a scooter rider was injured by a fallen tree.
A flash rain and wind knocked down the tree.
The rider, 55, suffered injuries to his head and chest, and his condition is still critical.
CT scans showed the patient suffered 6 to 7 broken ribs. His lungs show bruising and internal bleeding. He's still in a critical condition.
Although the typhoon has left Taiwan, members of the public should remain vigilant against future accidents. In Pingdong, Typhoon Matmo blew away the roof of a house and soaked the family's furniture.
整个轰隆巨响，非常。
We heard a loud noise, which was really scary. We thought our house was going to be blown down, so we quickly took our children to a safer place.
Upon learning of the family's situation, Tzu Chi volunteers mobilized to offer support.
他们的一些用品都
Some of their items were soaked, so we brought them blankets to keep them warm. Hopefully, our assistants can put their worried hearts at ease.
Now the family has been evacuated to a temporary shelter. The typhoon also brought heavy rains to Jiadong Township.
At around 12 a.m., floodwater started to rise. The water level once reached 45 centimeters. It has receded 15 centimeters by now.
To contain the floods, Jiadong Township had asked soldiers to install extra pumps at a local pumping station in order to keep locals safe from harm.
Now that Typhoon Matmo has passed, people in Taiwan must have noticed that streets are littered with fallen trees and branches. In fact, several vehicles were damaged and people hurt as a result of the uprooted trees and fallen branches. But many of these same trees were pruned earlier in anticipation of the typhoon. So, why did they still get blown down? As it turns out, pruning trees is much more than just cutting a tree down in size in whichever way you desire.
In Taiwan, whenever there is a typhoon, on the following day, streets will be littered with snapped-off branches or uprooted trees.
I think going out on the typhoon day is quite terrifying because you just don't know when a tree or a branch is going to fall on you.
长得太长的一些
Branches that grow too long or have rotted or withered should be trimmed off before typhoon season so they won't get blown off and hurt someone.
断裂会砸到人或车辆。
However, is this really an effective method? During last year's Typhoon Sulik, in Taipei and New Taipei City alone, more than 3,000 trees planted along the city streets were uprooted.
Whenever I see trees topple over, I think it's very dangerous. I think this is a problem that the government should take care of.
Citizens have been complaining about our tree pruning methods for years. They say we either cut too much away or shave off all the leaves. So we have been trying to be considerate of our citizens' feeling.
In the past, it seems the more pruning was done, the more trees got knocked down. The question remains, however, why doesn't this happen to trees in the mountains?
When the top of the trunk was chopped off, a branch began to grow from here at the side. Though eventually many twigs grew from the branch, its connection to the trunk was not triangular. It was really only attached to the skin of the trunk, so it broke off easily during the typhoon. Here we can see the top of this tree has been severed improperly, so nutrients can be properly distributed within the tree. So what began as a small wound eventually grew bigger and bigger, until it was beyond repair. Now this gaping hole is a dangerous structural defect. See, the rope meant to support the tree has been swallowed by the trunk. The structural integrity of this area has been compromised, so when the tree snaps, it will surely happen at this fault.
Also, how the trees are planted also affect their stability.
The area beneath where this tree was planted was filled with waste soil, so the tree's roots couldn't breathe nor absorb water, and so had to come up. That's why you see the roots on the surface.
Scholars say most trees topple over not because of a typhoon's strong gust, but poor workmanship.
This is the Wenxin Forest Park of Taichung. All the trees planted here share the same fate. As you can see, the plastic wrapping around the roots is still here. This means the trees were planted while still wrapped in plastic.
This is a major blunder, an utter failure. By planting the trees without removing the protective plastic wrapping, you have already created the problem right from the very beginning.
Professor Liu has devoted himself to studying trees planted in Taiwan cities and has come up with a tree pruning guide to deal with the problem once and for all. Pruning must be done by taking a tree's vascular tissue system into consideration. If it is accidentally severed, nutrient circulation will be cut and the tree will begin to wilt. By properly preserving the vascular tissue during pruning, a tree can stay healthy. Cutting the trunk horizontally will also lead to wilting. The angle of the cut should be at the same angle of the branches so the tree will heal properly.
With this guide, we now know how to protect trees and people. Our trees will also be healthier.
As cities plant trees to help decorate their streets, they must not forget that a tree is a living organism and needs to be treated with respect and love.
Temperatures in Taiwan have been unbearable lately, which is not surprising as July 23rd marked the beginning of the new solar term Dashu, which literally means major heat. Like the translation, typically around this time, temperatures soar to the highest of the year. Due to the extreme heat during this time, people often suffer from heat stroke. Next, we show you some tips on how to keep cool and beat the heat. Eating chunks of cold watermelon. Drinking bowls of refreshing green bean soup. And eating a large bowl of shaved ice are all ways people try to beat the heat on a hot summer's day.
A bowl of shaved ice helps to stay cool.
Eating shaved ice for lunch is a good solution.
Of the 24 solar terms of the year, Dashu is the hottest of the year.
Dashu is the hottest time of the year, and people often become lazier during this time. There is a Chinese proverb that goes, 大树小树, though there's rice, we are reluctant to cook it.
In the past, average temperatures were calculated at 35 or above, with some city areas reaching 36 or 37 degrees Celsius.
It's so hot that even fruit can get sunburnt.
可能太热了，晒一晒可能就干掉
When
了。
it's too hot, fruit may dry out or go bad, especially if there are afternoon showers. If they are soaked in water and the next day exposed to high temperatures, they will easily rot.
照下来的话，很容易就会有一些腐坏的现象。
This extreme heat actually is the perfect weather for the second season rice planting.
If we plant the rice seedlings too late, when it comes time to form grains, the weather will be cold and then the grains won't form.
But with frequent typhoons during this time, farmers are worried.
If a typhoon sweeps through when the rice seedlings are young, it will flood our fields.
Another proverb goes, if it's not hot during Dashu, then the climate is not right.
If it's not hot during the time when it's supposed to be hot, then we need to watch out for incoming typhoons and flooding. When it should be hot, it should be hot. When it should be cold, it should be cold. Otherwise, natural disasters might strike. The sun's rays are tough on our skin.
However, this year's temperature seems to be higher than previous years.
The sun's rays are tough on our skin.
It's harder to breathe and sweat.
There is also an increase in heat stroke sufferers.
In July and August, typhoons are beginning to emerge, and with increased humidity in the air, this affects our body's ability to sweat and cool off.
There are 6 steps to avoid heat stroke during this time. 1. Avoid overexposure to the sun. 2. Make sure your environment is ventilated. 3. Drink plenty of water. 4. Take it easy and rest often. 5. Keep calm in your heart. And 6. Consume more whole foods. Another option is to boil your own heat stroke prevention tea. All you need is 10 grams of the following: noble dendrobium, loquat leaf, glenia root, and prunella spike, and 5 grams of mint.
简单的利用几味中药，然后煮成。
Boil these ingredients together to make the herbal tea. It will help to alleviate inner body heat while nourishing bodily fluids during this uncomfortable weather.
During this hot summer, make sure you keep healthy with the right methods. Moving to the Philippines, Tzu Chi's rice distribution continues in typhoon-ravaged Tacloban, Tanawan, and Palau. At the second stage of the distribution in Tacloban City, many residents signed up to join the volunteers' ranks, while others donated money they have saved through living frugally.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
My deepest thanks to all the Tzu Chi volunteers and Master Zheng Yan for helping us. We love you all so much.
The next stage of rice distributions has begun here in Tacloban. A day will come when rice distributions will eventually come to an end. However, Tzu Chi's love is here to stay. 54-year-old Teonilo Flores is dedicating the remaining years of his life to serving people in need.
Many of us here in Tacloban have received Tzu Chi's help. I'm happy to be a part of Tzu Chi and help out as a volunteer.
And there is Moises, who is not only here to receive Tzu Chi's rice, but also brought the money he saved by living frugally to donate to Tzu Chi.
My wife had a heart attack last year. It was Tzu Chi that helped us cover the medical expenses. Now they are here to give us rice. I'm most grateful.
As sickness and poverty go hand in hand, the septuagenarian couple carries a heavy load, having to raise 8 grandchildren on their own. Most of the time, their meals consist of plain rice mixed with sugar, and sometimes even going without food for a whole day.
My husband's body is in a lot of pain, but he forces himself to work. I only ask God to give us strength so we can provide for our grandchildren's needs.
2 bags of rice, 20 kilograms each, is enough to feed this family of 10 for 2 months. And seeing these residents finding stability and peace of mind is the greatest source of comfort for the Tzu Chi volunteers.
Watching TV can change a person's life. Such is the case with Lai Mei-yin, who saw a 15-minute teaching of Master Zhen Yan's on DaAi TV during her stay at a hospital. Listening to the master's lecture about karma, Lai immediately repented for her quick temper. Now, Lai is not only a Tzu Chi volunteer, but also the first seed in Jiayi's Ruifeng village of Meishan Township. Here at Tima's first free clinic in Jiayi County's Ruifeng village of Meishan Township, Lai Mei-yin is busy making sure the event runs smoothly. Learning of Tzu Chi through watching DaAi TV, Lai is also the first Tzu Chi seed here in Ruifeng village. My husband turned on the TV and Master Zhen Yan was on. After listening a while, it seemed as if the master was talking about me when she talked about karmic retribution. It made me reflect on why I had surgery on my neck. Is it because I often speak harshly and don't listen to others? Have I considered how my words might hurt those around me? After watching the master's teachings, Lai started repenting for her temper of over 40 years. Back then, I could argue with my daughter up and down the mountain. My eldest daughter once said, I don't remember my mother ever being happy because there are too many things to do and she is always angry.
Before she smiled less and was often angry. Now she smiles more. Yes.
Realizing her temper was perhaps a bit too quick, Lai wanted to change for the better. But actualizing it is harder than just thinking about it. Thankfully, watching DaAi TV serves as a daily reminder for Lai. The way DaAi TV influences me is I remember how the master once said, many people want me to come visit them, but if you just turn on the TV, I'm there for a visit. I'll even transmit some wisdom to you. From the initial 15 minutes of programming to now walking the Tzu Chi path, Lai Mei-yin's life has been transformed. Not only has her relationship with her family improved, but she has also gained life's wisdom in the process. For some volunteers, recycling does not take a backseat to typhoon holidays. At the end of the show, we will leave you images of recycling volunteers from New Taipei City who, despite the heavy rains of the Typhoon Matmo on July 23rd, still ventured out to the recycling station to sort recyclables. Thank you for watching the show. See you next time.